Can you check that if work?
We're in.
Looks like we're in.
Yeah, we're in.
Looks like we're in. Are we on?
I don't know if I signed in or not. I'm usually
Or
up.
it's like, yeah, the last month I had something and I couldn't, for some reason I had written this whole but we can't see us. I'm still angry about it.
This is like all underneath.
I wrote this really nice intro and then posted it because I couldn't sleep.
The reason why there aren't
Very
as many
frustrating.
attendees is because
My show and tell.
Propose
Who's
is,
doing that or maybe it
It's like all underneath the city.
I
Well, outside.
I never sign in, so.
Being recorded, folks. We're being recorded.
but right now we're only being recorded on video. We're muted.
no, we're not.
We're not muted?
That's muted.
Green means we're not muted. Okay, we're not muted. We should be muted.
Good morning. In an unusual fashion, we're on time today. I'm Mark Patterson. I represent Secretary Rodriguez on the Cemetery Board. Before we start our December meeting, I take a little bit of a moment just to acknowledge the holidays. I hope everybody has happy holidays. Remind people to mute your phone if you're not currently addressing the board. Also, I just want to acknowledge the various stakeholders of this endeavor. The staff have worked hard all year to services. We appreciate their work. I'll leave it to Louis later. We have some new staff, but we have today have our holiday party, so our staff are in the room, and we are fully staffed for the first time in a long time. So again, I'll leave it to Louis to be more specific. But thank you all for your work. Also, the board, my colleagues on the board, thank you for your attendance and your efforts. Jill, always good to see you on the screen. And of course, most importantly, I want to thank all of the volunteers, the cemeterians, the people that work in the cemeteries that we regulate. We have a regulatory role, sometimes not always as much fun, but we also have a support role. We've been very active in trying to provide new supports to our cemeteries. I think that's been successful. We're going to continue to do that. And again, a good year, despite that coming out of COVID and all that. So thank you to all of you. And it's just my point of privilege as the chair. Again, I'm Mark Patterson. I represent the Secretary of State. Also,
I'm Thomas Fuller, representing Dr. James McDonald for the Department of Health.
and Jill.
I'm Jill Faber, representing Attorney General Letitia James.
Okay. And thank you all for being here. Our first order of business is to accept the minutes from previous meetings. We've distributed them to the board members and staff. Does anybody have any suggestions or corrections to the minutes distributed?
No.
Nobody does, so I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the past meeting as distributed. All in favor? Oh, a second. All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Minutes are approved. Next, we have a report from our council, Rob Vanderwas. Is there anything you have to add to your legislative report?
Good morning, Mark. No, I have nothing specific to add. Does the board have any questions on the legislative report I circulated? Hearing none, the regulatory update is the division and I continue to assess the comments received on the proposed regulations for natural organic reduction.
Okay.
Are those comments available online anywhere?
No, they're not available online through us. The assessment of those comments will appear in the state register though once it's finalized. Thank you.
Emerson? Should we show them to you? Do you want to see them?
Maybe later.
Okay. All right.
We'd have to share it via folder because it's
Okay.
there are quite a bunch of them, but I can share them with you.
We could just take that under
Sure.
consideration. So, okay. So we don't have a big agenda, but next is the division report. So Louis, you want to fill us in on the division? And again, thank you and your staff for all your work.
Yeah, so first of all, wanted to welcome new staff. I think we're only officially welcoming 2 people today because the rest, everybody else has been here virtually or otherwise before. Lisa Dooley and Brendan Dunn, both are senior accountants, both are here in our Albany office.
Go wave, yeah.
They're going to be covering a rather large amount of territory, including the mid-Hudson region all the way up to the North Country, and going west as far as just past Syracuse. So it's a big chunk of territory, but we're glad they're here, and they're going to be taking. This is an area where we've had lack of coverage for longer than pretty much anywhere else in the state, so it's good that we now do. So, second thing is our annual report is going out shortly. Please look for that in your inboxes. and mailboxes. Look for that in your mailboxes. And we're obviously annual report season starts when our annual mailing goes out.
Which will be the beginning of January.
Which will be, we can't send out our annual mailing until they stop playing Christmas music on the radio. It's a glitch in our system. So it'll be going out in early January. But that's,
I think we may have lost audio. I don't know if someone's talking. I don't
Can you hear me,
know
Jill?
if others who are remote can hear. Okay, maybe it's just me then. I'll
No? I
work
don't
on
know.
that.
Does anybody else online hear us and can tell us that they hear us?
They're raising their hands down there, so I guess they must.
No,
Yes,
you can hear us,
this lady's
so it's,
nodding.
yeah.
Oh, good.
okay.
having a hard time hearing.
Better now, but it was hard before.
Okay.
Oh,
so-
should I? Maybe I
Move
should
on.
go over by the microphone.
And
Alright.
you couldn't hear me, is that we can move the mic?
Yeah, the microphone can move.
Is this any better?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. So number 2, annual report. Our mailing is going out. It's got useful information in it. That goes out beginning of January, at which point we'll be expecting your annual reports. The next thing is just wanted to sort of take stock of what we've done this year. We've actually done a lot this year. The main thing that we've done, I think, frankly, is hiring. We did a lot of hiring. We have hired four accountants. 4 accountants, 3 here in Albany, 1 in New York City, and Nathan McCarthy, our administrative assistant, also in Albany, who's going to be your main point of contact with the division for things where you don't know exactly who to contact. The second thing that we've done is we've had Cemetery 101 sessions. We've had 10 of them. Looking at the REDC regions, I think we've hit every region except for the Mid-Hudson and the Southern Tier. I mean, you could argue a point as to whether Chautauqua County counts as the Southern Tier, but we've hit all but 2 of those regions. We're planning on reaching those regions this coming season once the weather improves. We do have one scheduled already for March 7th here in Albany, specifically in Menands, at St. Agnes's Cemetery. So, and we'll be rolling out more of those soon. We have a place on our website for them. Then I guess the main other thing I wanted to do is say our other priority is really trying to keep cemeteries from becoming a burden on the town by either thinking they have no choice but to convey themselves to the town and the town accept that conveyance, or reaching a point of abandonment, at which point the town has to maintain them. To that end, we've got somewhere between 8 and 10, depending on how you're counting, cemeteries that we saved from abandonment this past year. I'll be reporting on detail in those in next month's meeting, because we're supposed to do that as part of our quarterly report on at-risk cemeteries. I like to give a little good news and report on the ones that didn't get abandoned. But I wanted to just highlight 2 examples of cemeteries that got saved from abandonment. Michael, you want to go first?
Sandusky Cemetery, we were involved with them in the first quarter of this year. We worked with them really last year and into the beginning of this year and getting people to turn out to their annual meeting, which they had not been able to accomplish. We did have a successful annual meeting. We were able to get, I believe, 1 new board member on board. And their other problem was financial. They were able to fix that. They had an issue where they had a failed merger in 2021, I believe, and they had stopped investing their money as getting ready for a merger. They have since found a decent yield to invest their money, and it seems to have strengthened their financial outlook, and they're no longer in trouble at this time.
Great, thank you. Is there a microphone that we can put in the middle or something?
Well, for now, it's in a good place because Mike Seelman's next up. So,
All right.
Pompey Hill Cemetery is a small cemetery in Onondaga County, south of the city of Syracuse, but it's still in a very rural area. They had been operating with one, the president was the sole remaining trustee, and she wanted to step down, and she reached out. We spoke with the town of Pompey, and they really put the word out to get people at the lot owners meeting. Social media was a really effective tool for that. Also, they contacted the local historian, and they were able to kind of drum up people. So we had, the meeting was actually in November of '22, and we had a huge turnout. They were able to repopulate the board that night, and since then, I've met them at the cemetery on a couple of occasions. We did an inspection. I believe they're working on their 990. They have marked a bunch of monuments for hazardous monument grant, and they're a very active board. And it seems like a success story at this point.
Thank you. Thanks. I mean, one of the things we're trying to do as we go through these meetings is come up with sort of tips that we can share in advance so that cemeteries can hopefully avoid getting to this point in the first place. Some of that's already folded into our Cemetery 101 presentation, but we're always open to tweaking that a bit. That was all I had. Alicia, you wanted to give the annual report stats?
Yep, so for the calendar year 2023, we've received 1,487 annual reports total. 623 are online, representing about 42%.
Progress?
Progress.
Great. Well, those are great stories. I drive my staff crazy trying to get us to spend a little time, at least once or twice a year, to think about what we're grateful for and what we can celebrate as successes. Those are two opportunities for us to think about what we're grateful for. We're grateful for the commitment of the volunteers that come back in and sustain their cemeteries, and I'm grateful for the staff who are able to support them. So thank you both for those stories. Any questions of the board from the legislative report, the regulatory report, or the division report?
No questions.
No.
Outstanding. And am I being heard well enough? Is that, I don't.
Yes,
Okay, great.
I can hear you all at least. Thank you.
That's very important. Okay, so is there a vandalism report, Alicia?
Yes, the vandalism report was posted online. Nothing really remarkable about it. We're chugging along. Good news is that we had kind of a backlog of payments to be made, and it seems like those are flowing now again, so people are getting their money.
Sure, those that are getting it are happy.
They're very grateful. Sure.
The one thing I'll add is that just our vandalism collections, for what it's worth, this is for the board really more than anybody else. Our vandalism collections we calculate on a calendar year basis, but the funding for the vandalism fund and the money going out goes on the state fiscal year basis, so it's April 1st to March 31st.
Okay. Board have any questions of Alicia on her? Okay. Thank you. We have one dangerous monument application from Ilion Cemetery in the town of Herkimer in the amount of $92,985.55. Does that be presented to the board?
Yes, I'll present. This is Glenn Green from Division of Cemeteries. We have application for 45 hazardous monuments located in Ilion Cemetery, also known as Armory Hill Cemetery. It's right in the village of Ilion in Herkimer County. The application was submitted by Daniel Trevor. It was trustee of the cemetery, and I met with Mr. Trevor at the cemetery, and I was able to determine that all 45 monuments are indeed leaning dangerously and in need of repair. The newest monument from the 45 is dated from 1914. So out of those 45 monuments, Mr. Trevor searched his records and then he was not able to locate any mailing addresses for any of the records they had on file for any of these 45 monuments. So it is division's understanding that the cemetery's determined lot owners cannot be found for these monuments. So included with the application, we have two estimates, one from Humphrey Memorials for $92,830 and one from Northeast Cemetery Services for $97,250 for the repair of the monuments. And both of these contractors propose to remove, repair, and reset the monuments and new foundations poured at 42-inch depths, and they both offer 10-year warranty. So this appears to be a legitimate claim, and as I said, I visited, and the monuments are indeed leaning dangerously. Most of them are very large. That's why the cost of the repair is on the higher side, because the majority of these are very large monuments, and it does appear to be a good claim, and I recommend approval.
Were those numbers consistent with what was on the audit or the report? It's $92,000. $5.02 is the recommended.
Yes, with the legal notice was for $155.55. The total, so yes, the total of this application would be $92,985.55, including the legal act.
All right, I thought I heard something. Thank you for that. Council, do we have anything to add to this, other than subject to availability of funds?
No comments from council.
Thank you. Stay ahead of you once. All right. Does the board have any questions on this application?
No questions.
No, no questions.
Thank you. So I will make a motion to approve the application of the Ilion Cemetery from Herkimer County for $92,985.55 in vandalism funds, subject to the availability of funds. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That's motion seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Application is approved. We have three cemeteries on the agenda. I understand that one cemetery, one application we want to table. Do you want to do that?
Right, Hillside Cemetery is it's listed here as a land swap. It's really more like a lot line adjustment, but we did not get the contract or legal documents between the two parties in time to send it to the board and council for review. So we're asking that be taken till January, by which time hopefully we'll have that document.
Okay. Do we have any?
No, not Ellisburg,
No.
Hillside.
Hillside. I just wanted to get that done. So I'll make a motion to table the application, Hillside Cemetery, till the January meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion, the application is tabled. Let's go back to Ellisburg Cemetery, if application for a columbarium. Someone to present that to the board.
Mike, are you or Carrie gonna do it?
I'll give the overview if she wants to fill it. Finance. So Ellisburg Rural is a small cemetery in town Ellisburg, Jefferson County. They applied for approval to install a 48 niche columbarium unit. This would be their first columbarium. The total cost for this unit is $51,514. They initially applied in 2022 for a similar unit, and after the division reviewed their application, we found that the cost of the unit exceeded the funds that they had available in their general fund. So there was discussion between the division and the cemetery, and they withdrew their initial application. They had already submitted, or they'd already posted their notice at the cemetery, all the entrances and at the site, and they haven't received any negative comments about the columbarium. So they reapplied, and before they reapplied, I went and spoke with them. We looked at the site, and we discussed some other cemeteries in the central New York area that had put in small columbariums at a cheaper price, and told them where those cemeteries were. And to their credit, they went out, they drove, from Jefferson County down to Onondaga County, Oneida County. They actually looked at these other units and talked to the people at the cemeteries, and they came back with this application. So, even though they were able to bring the price of the unit down and bring the available funds in their general fund up, the division has still looked at this application, and because it'll use 75% of the general fund and the cost of the units, they estimate $2,500 including lettering. We kind of feel that that's pretty high for the area. And because this is their first columbarium, they don't have any track record of selling them. In fact, the area is very rural, and there's not a lot of data to look at in the area to see how these things are going to sell. We have recommended that it not be approved at this point. Now, last week I met with the cemetery. We provided them with a copy of the report that you have and explained to them what our concerns were, and they're available on the phone if you have questions for them. Did I cover everything?
Yeah, Mike, I think you said this, but aside from the cost of the unit, the pricing was something like double what most cemeteries in the broader region are charging.
Yeah, the division sampled 3 of the closest cemeteries that we could find that had columbarium, and their price at $2,500 far exceeds the highest, which was $1,300, and the lowest, which is $500. So we brought this information back to them, and like I said, to their credit, they've done their research and they've driven around and they've talked to people. But yeah, we made our recommendation.
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold. The unit itself is priced a little higher than others in the industry, and they did have some criteria, which we think is good criteria, but there are units that are available with fewer number of niches to start that could potentially be used to test the market and even test the price that they're selling. When Mike mentioned that the higher end of those polled was 1,300, that was in the Syracuse area, which is also drawing off a greater population. So we just don't want the cemetery operations to be at risk, and it's a large amount of money given they have a lower general fund to be risking, given we can't really test it until it's done, and unfortunately we don't want to set it up to fail. So we're just recommending a more conservative approach with a smaller unit to start, and maybe pricing it a little bit better for the market that they're in.
Okay. Council, anything to add on this?
Thanks, Mark. I just wanted to walk through several of the factors in the reg that the board considers when looking at an application like this. We asked cemeteries to provide us the estimated total cost of construction, the source of funds, the cumulative total revenue from sales based upon the projected selling price, and the projected disposition of revenue. And also remind the board that, in the beginning of Article 15, the public policy statement, that cemeteries are supposed to be operated for the preservation of public burial grounds, and one of the board's considerations is to prevent cemeteries from becoming a burden on communities, and ensuring cemeteries are conducted on a non-profit basis with mutual benefit of lot owners. And just to highlight that, my understanding is that the division did analyze this proposed columbarium using prices that were comparable for the general area, and determined that under that scenario, this project would operate at a loss.
Okay. I know their cemetery is available. Do you want to go to them, or do you want to go to the board? I understand members of the Ellensburg Cemetery Board are available. I don't know who it is, but unmute yourself if you want to speak to the board.
You're muted, Mary. Yeah, you're still muted.
It's a conspiracy.
Press star 6. Oh, got it.
There you go. I think that you're,
Well, we still can't hear you though.
I think they're unmuted, but I don't think the microphone is not picking up any sound on their end.
Would you like me to call them?
You want us to call?
could call and put them on speaker, I guess. If you heard us.
Mary, I don't know if you can hear, I'm gonna try to call you.
I think she's actually.
You can, if you call from the phone on the desk, it'll pipe it into the sound system.
Oh. Of course, it's redacted.
I can get a number.
If you do it, as Brenda suggests, dial it.
That's not the issue.
I know, you gotta have the number first.
What's the cemetery number? You want to grab this?
2300.
Hey, Alicia, can you open the chat on that screen? It looks like she might be typing something into the chat. Maybe it's her number.
I don't have the, it's
Oh,
not
okay.
on the computer,
I
it's
didn't know
only
if
on
that
this device.
interface had it or not.
Yes. Okay, 315.
Good.
Don't, Pat,
Just
if
type
it, Carrie, pass it to him, don't read it, please. It's a personal number, you shouldn't be recording.
Brendan, do you know how to use this?
Or you can give this to Mike.
Thanks for waiting.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. First of all, this is Mary Bettinger. I am president of the Ellisburg Cemetery. I am joined by Greg Lake. He's vice president, and also Craig Feely.
I don't think it's her, I think it's somebody else.
No, I think it's her.
First, we'd like to thank Mike Steelman, Terry Frizzelli, and Alicia Young for their unwavering assistance. We've looked at depth for many years to determine the best way for our cemetery to maintain and thrive in the future, especially with cremations increasing each year, and to offer an alternative to in-ground interment. Annual letters are mailed to lot owners and interested parties regarding the building of a columbarium in our cemetery. And we have received no objections, only positive comments, and we also have the support from our local funeral directors. To be clear, we're looking at the future. We have the funds and the determination and completed due diligence to build the proposed unit. It appears the cost of the proposed unit is today's stumbling block. Greg and Craig were all the reasons as to why this unit was chosen after many miles and interviews with cemeteries that have built that. I'm going to introduce you to Craig and Greg. There you go, Greg. Does your sound good on that end?
We are getting some echo from you.
Do it now. Okay, Gregory, is the sound good now?
Yes.
That's much better,
Yes.
thank you.
Craig here. Craig Beely is also here. As Mary said, we have
we have looked at this process in depth. I'm sure Craig will attest for the fact that we've learned way more about cemeteries, way more about columbariums than we ever intended to know. Having said that, I want to tell you a couple little things that I've learned along the way. Number one, in response to our price is too high, I spent better part of 2 hours visiting with our local funeral home director, Mr. Studley, and his assistant, Lori Todd. We talked in depth about how much does it cost for a funeral? How much is it if it's a full burial? How much is it if it's a cremation? What's the cheapest you can do it? We got all, and Bill sat back in his chair and he said, Greg, I've been doing this a long time. And I want to tell you, I get people all the time come in here and arrange funerals. And here's the bad part that I see with your situation. At the end of the day, at the end of the process, as long as it's nice, whether it costs $5,000 or $8,000 is really a moot point. And he brought that up to me again last week when I was talking to him and said, you know, yes, we do need to keep the cost down. But if you make it too cheap, we're not talking about taking care of it forever. And one of the problems I think we found with cemeteries as we visited them is people don't think about, they think about forever of their dogs that they just picked up at the SPCA that they're going to have for 10 years. We're going to have this columbarium for a long time, way after all of us are gone. What size you have, we really don't know what size we need. In talking to the folks at Pine Plains and at least when they put their first one in, they thought that was going to last them for 20, 25 years. Pine Plains is just adding, I think, their fourth or fifth one. Will that happen in Ellisburg? I highly doubt it. However, we could reduce the price, the total capital outlay, by going with a 36 niche unit instead of a 48 niche unit. It doesn't reduce much the cost we would probably charge the consumer. To reduce the cost we charge the consumer means the cemetery making less money. Now, I've heard numerous comments about you're paying too much for this unit. We have a very unique board. We're local. Most have been in the community a long time. We have some very strong commitment to the area. And they put forth some things that did add some cost to the unit. They wanted it American made. We found that having a single stone door per niche far advantageous to having one door for every 4 niches. Adds cost. One of the other things we found upon visiting these columbariums was many of them that are empty have to be cleaned before they can be used, and those that are on the bottom don't sell because the bottom niche is sitting on the foundation. As a result, we requested that the unit be raised up 6 inches. I think it's 5.5. And we asked and have committed to the unit with an aluminum cabinet system inside. So when you remove the stone, you have to unlock the metal door and open it before putting in an urn. Another item we requested was a light gray structure with dark gray or black doors. And the last one was that we wanted the unit to be American made or sourced in the U.S. Now, after looking at those, that does add to the cost. As best I can tell, on a 36 niche unit, it's about 6,000. On a 48 niche unit, it's closer to 8,000. The end result is that that's $300 to $400 per niche. So, you know, and basically what I did was I took our cost of the structure, divided by the number of niches, multiplied it by 2. That's how I came up with $2,000 per niche. And then we added on to that the cost of engraving the door. Now, we've looked at these Calabarians. I don't find anybody offering a Calabarium for less than $1,000. If I was in your shoes, if somebody's selling a niche in a Calabarium for $300, they're going to soon be part of your first conversation you had, because they can't afford to do it. And I don't understand where you feel we're going to lose money, because as long as we have the Calabarium, we can always sell them. And right now, and let's just look at the $50,000. Say $50,000 for easy conversation. We haven't invested in an interest-bearing account, which is somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a year. That means if we sell 2 or 3 niches, we are break even our interest payment for the $50,000. If we sell more, we're ahead of the game. In any of that, we still have the remaining niches. They'll sell. Maybe they don't sell this year. Maybe they don't sell next year. I also don't think it's realistic that we're going to sell 10 niches a year. We could, but I don't think it's realistic. Nor do I think that we will sell all of the niches in 4 years. We're in a small area. I would project that this unit will probably last us 10 to 15 years. As long as we're selling 2, 3, 4 a year, I mean, we can leave it in a low interest account, or we can improve the facility that we have and make it ready for the future.
Are you done?
Pretty much.
Okay, I gotta turn the speaker back on. I'm gonna get feedback. Okay, speakerphone, so you should be okay.
If that's your comments, we appreciate them. I just say up front that I think the staff have been clear that I think you've approached this in a, thoughtful way. So there's no, nothing about your proposal. Your proposal is compelling, but they're concerned about the long-term financial impact. They do understand the question about the future. I think they still disagree about the perspective.
So my question would be, what do we have to do to be able to build this thing? Do we have to do a fundraiser? I mean, we already do fundraising. Do we have to talk to more people about making larger donations? Do we need more money in our coffers? What do we need to do?
Well, that was actually, hi, Louis Polishuk, Division Director here. That was actually my first thought, if, to the extent the issue is the cost of the unit as opposed to what you're selling them for, if you could raise the money to cover the difference between the Cadillac unit and the Chevrolet unit, that would go, and you chose a smaller unit to start with, that would certainly go to address it, meaning you're not going to deplete your funds even if the thing doesn't succeed. On the pricing thing, we still think the pricing is just completely out of whack with the area. But if you're not risking losing your shirt on it, you can always lower the prices if they don't sell. But the upfront cost, you can't do anything about once you've paid it.
Correct.
So, if there's a group of people who are behind getting this, higher end unit, and you could come up with the funds to mean that the cemetery's general fund is taking a much smaller hit for it, then especially if you're now suggesting going with 36 instead of 48, maybe there's even a 24 unit out there, that might, we can't decide this right now because we don't have none of these facts in front of us, but that might look very different.
As the number of niches goes down, when you go from 48 to 36, the cost of a niche increases by about $180.
Well,
so the price of the unit goes down, but the cost of the niche goes up.
The price per niche goes up. The
Correct.
price you're selling them for doesn't necessarily go up or down. That's going to be based on what the market can bear.
Let me does the members of the board have any questions or things to add to this? And Jill, I'll call on you first, just because you're remote and makes it easier. Go ahead. Anything?
No, I don't. It's certainly helpful to hear all the detail and the granular information about how you went about the process. So I don't have any questions. No, based on Rob's description of the concerns, and I appreciate hearing your perspective, but I don't have any questions right now. No.
Tom, do you have anything?
Yeah, I appreciate their input. Curious about what the time frame is for installation of this. So give them some time to work out some of these issues.
Approximately a year after you place an order.
Okay.
Thank you.
The minimum 9 months, more typical 12 months.
Well, I find the part of the secret sauce of our cemeteries is that they're local and have local information that others might not. So I think that's compelling, but I do also think the staff analysis is worthy, and I know you've worked on it. So I guess what I would say is I would make a suggestion to table this and ask the staff to go back and work with the cemetery. Again, our goal is not to say no or yes. Our goal is to make sure the cemeteries are operating in sustainable fashions. And, I don't think any of us pretend we have all of the information. It's an analysis and one we make our best guess on. So if I could suggest that to the board, that I think the cemetery has asked the right question. What does it take to put this one? And again, I'm very appreciative of their checklist of things that they want, that they think will add value. So I'm not saying it should be the cheapest. We're talking about affordability and sustainability, and you got to make choices along the way. So if that's a direction the board is comfortable with, I would make a motion to table this with the instructions that the staff go back and try to see if they can work out ways to answer the question, what would it take to make this a positive application?
I think that's reasonable.
Okay, so I have a second for that.
I second that.
Any other discussion?
I just have one question. So I assume that would involve the folks from the cemetery and the folks from the division who did that analysis, talking about the division's concerns and maybe some more information in connection with what the folks from the cemetery brought up today. That would include a discussion.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
it sounds like, you know, the division did its analysis, and you know, it was robust, and it seemed pretty data driven. So I'm just wondering if we can articulate the process just a little more specifically about what's happening in the interim while this is tabled.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm not sure if this is in the motion, but context, that at this point, I mean, I would have to test the board, but I get to have a sense that the board would not approve this application as is based on the analysis of the staff. But the cemetery itself has worked hard to bring up an application, and they've articulated their why they made certain decisions. So the instructions, I think, from the board back to the division is to continue that conversation about the price point for purchase or alternatives to make sure that the cemetery can move forward, but in a way that we feel more comfortable into its long-term financial future. So that's the context that I would just add to the record. Okay? So if there's no other comments, does the cemetery have anything that they would like to say at this point?
You still haven't answered the ultimate question.
Yes, and I think you've asked the right question, and I'm asking the cemetery, the staff, to go back and figure out a way to give you the answer to that. The ultimate question is, how do you find a way to do this in a way that we think is sustainable? And I think that we're not that necessarily that far off, but there are some issues that we still need to discuss. So that is the question that I'm asking the cemetery staff to help work through with you, so that hopefully there is an answer that's positive. There may not be, but that's the goal that I would have in mind.
Yeah. I don't mean to, I don't mean to be, you know, inserting myself and making it difficult, but I think what you just said, I just, you know, want to articulate this as well. There might not be a way. As I sit here today, I'm not opining that there isn't, but I think that's part of the discussion. If the question is, how do we do this? We've got to get to yes. I don't know. So I just wanted everyone to be clear. That's my view, that it's a discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an open question, but it's the right question. Is
Absolutely.
there a way? I think the staff and the cemetery have worked diligently to see if they can find a way. At this point, the staff view is that it is not sufficiently affordable to be sustainable. I don't want to say no at this point, because I think the cemetery has made good comments, and we understand as a board, we understand their commitment to doing it right, but I also respect the staff analysis. So if we can table it and continue that conversation to see if there's a way to get to how do we do this, I think that's what I would like to see the staff do. Still good? I have a motion on the table. Have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Motion is tabled, and staff is directed to continue that work. Thank you very much for your time from the folks from Ellsberg, not just today, but previously. We have another application from Locust Valley for a land purchase.
Yeah, that's me. Wait. Sorry?
Do we need to hang that?
No.
Oh, yeah, we can hang up on that. All right, Peter, can you still hear us?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So Locust Valley Cemetery is in Nassau County. This has nothing to do with this application, but I find it fascinating. It's the only cemetery I've ever been to anywhere in the world that is set up with family plots that are designed as rhododendron groves, where the graves are kind of in a circle surrounded by rhododendron bushes. I think it's extremely cool. It's also, which I also find interesting, it's also the final resting place, among other people, of Rocky Graziano, who has a very modest grave there. So the cemetery has, over the past, I want to say 20 years, maybe longer, it's close to full. They have about, I want to say about 2,000 graves left. I think it's 1,900. They've got like, and they're landlocked. There's no undeveloped land that they adjoin. So over the last 20, 25 years, they've been looking when neighbors are looking to sell property at the possibility of acquiring those, to the point where they actually got a change in New York law, which had until then imposed prohibitions on Nassau County, on cemetery land being added in Nassau County. They got the law changed to specifically allow them to add cemetery property to an existing cemetery where the property is adjacent. This is one of those properties. They are now seeking to acquire. There's an adjoining house. It's at the end of a dead-end street that backs onto the cemetery on the lengthwise part of the property. So it really kind of would incorporate very nicely into the cemetery. They're looking to acquire that now. To be clear, all that's before the board right now is the approval of the purchase of the property. There are two local approvals they would need, which they are not going to seek until after board approval. I'll explain why in a second. That before they could use it for cemetery use. The first one they would need is either a change in the zoning or zoning variance to use the property. The second thing they would need is, apparently there is a local ordinance limiting the size of land that can be used for cemetery purposes. If they develop this whole property, they would exceed that, and so they would need a change in that local regulation. If they don't get those, they have one or two things they can do with the property. One is they can rent it out. They actually own another adjoining house that they currently rent out to generate income for the cemetery until the time they really need that property, at which point they can go through that same local process I was talking about and use it for graves. Or they could flip it if they're unable to get their local approvals. Renting out or flipping it would probably mean they would lose a tiny bit of money, just with fees and such. But the reason they don't want to get their local approvals first is the seller wants to sell, and getting the local approvals would take longer than getting our approval. So they want to be able to close on the transaction with the risk that they might not be able to use this for its most productive use for them, cemetery use, but instead would be essentially owning it as an investment property, as they currently do with another property, and as they've done in the past with other houses. So it's the appraised value of the property. There are two appraisals, 1.8 million and 1.815 million. The sale price is 1.8 million, so it's for the purchase is for fair market value. I think that's the only other thing that I guess that needs to be said is that we've assumed for the purposes of this exercise that the purchase of the land is a unlisted action for purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act. We've prepared, the cemetery's prepared, and we've done our part on an environmental analysis form, so the board will also have to approve that and authorize the chair to sign that, as well as approving the purchase itself. Carrie, did you have anything to add on the financial side?
No, I mean, I'll point out, if we're just approving the 1.8 million, the total assets of the cemetery right now are over 23 million, just to give you some context with what the risk would be.
Right, so I mean, if they lose 50 grand on the transaction because they have to flip it later.
Right, operations won't suffer in the meantime.
Anything else from council?
Thank you, Mark. So as Louis mentioned, the board is looking at an application to purchase property that's under section 1506A of the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law. The cemetery's plan, their ideal plan, is to demolish the single-family home and to turn all of that property into cemetery uses. They are not able to do so due to zoning. It is conceivable that that subsequent plan, the demolishing of a building and moving everything around on that property to turn it into a cemetery purpose, I think they're considering maybe some mausoleums, probably some paths, yada, 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 would arguably be a major alteration application, which would have to come back before the board. Today, we are only and solely looking at whether or not to approve purchase of a residential property. Counsel for the cemetery in a letter to the board as part of the application walks through the other approvals necessary, local zoning, Nassau County legislative approval to use it for cemetery purposes.
Thank you.
But that is not what is here today. As Louis mentioned, we are teeing this up as an unlisted action for the purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act. The cemetery did do a short form EAF. We have prepared a draft, part 3, determination of significance, in which the division and I are proposing that there is no environmental impact at all. There's really today, right now, the only thing that's happening is that the cemetery would own a single-family home. It was a single-family home. It will continue to be, based upon the cemetery's board's decision today, if it does approve it, a single-family home.
I mean, we've only thought about sort of the subsequent uses of it, other than what's authorized now, in the context of, does it seem absurd to think they'll get that approval in a separate application? Or, hey, given the circumstances, it's at the end of a dead-end street, the other neighbors really won't notice the change in the property. The cemetery's actually had some preliminary conversations with the neighbors to see if they're going to object. We think it's realistic that when they do come to us for major alteration approval, that they will get their local approvals and be able to come back to us for major alteration to develop the section. But we're simply not there yet because they could end up renting out the property.
Right. So towards that end, I have prepared a draft resolution for the board. If you will allow me, and suffer through me reading it out loud. The New York State Cemetery Board has reviewed the materials submitted by Locust Valley Cemetery number 30-005 to purchase an approximately 3-acre residential property. The board has reviewed Locust Valley Cemetery's application in accordance with the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law Article 15, State Environmental Quality Review Act, and their implementing regulations, and hereby resolves that the board's determination on this application is subject to seeker and its implementing regulations. Pursuant to seeker, the board classifies the application as an unlisted action and elects to proceed in an uncoordinated review. The board adopts the draft environmental assessment form and makes a negative declaration. The board approves Locust Valley Cemetery application to purchase an approximately 3-acre residential property for $1.8 million paid through its general fund in accordance with its application. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of me?
I think the only thing I would say out loud is the nuance. We often approve something subject to, getting the municipal approvals. Because of the timing, the need to purchase the property, we're just simply approving the purchase as a purchase. Because the plan, long-term plan is still down the road, right? So
yes,
that's the difference in how we would normally do it. So, the motion is made as read by council. Any other questions from the board
I just have
members?
a quick question. Rob, you may have gone over this, but I assume that 1.8 or 1.815, the fair market value is the current as permitted use. That doesn't assume that there's a use that they're going to be applying for that may or may not. Is that right? It's current residential property. Okay.
Correct. The appraisals were done based upon it being a residential property, not an appraisal based upon its theoretical use as cemetery lands.
Sales
Okay.
comparison approach.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Second, motion a second?
Rob, does your motion you read also include the sale or just the seeker?
The purchase?
It does,
Yeah.
okay, good.
So I have a motion as read by council, which has both secret determinations and approval of the sale or purchase of the property. It is seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries for the application to purchase the land. That is the end of our business for today. I would, open up for public comment, but I just want to also welcome Julie Snyder, the new president of Forest Lawn, and her colleague, who are just here to observe. So thank you for coming, appreciate that. Is there anyone on the line, online that would like to address the board?
Mr. Chairman, Peter Colgrove from Oakenside Cemetery. I'm here with Diane Fagiola, our chairperson, Bill Simons, our general manager. I want to thank you very much for passing our application. Appreciate it, and we'll hope to see you later next year when we come back with an application to major application alteration to remove the house and so forth. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry I skipped over you during the comment period, but we appreciate your
I had some comments to make, but Louis and Bob did so well for me. All right.
All good lawyers know never to say something that you don't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, Peter, you don't speak when you're winning.
Right.
At least that's my educated view. Anyway, so thank you again. Sorry that I skipped you, but appreciate you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Holidays. Is there anyone else that would like to speak, address the board on any matter?
I would.
Go ahead.
I have my parents buried in a cemetery in Long Island, New Montefiore Cemetery. They charge $30 because we want to have a ledger. For religious reasons, we have like a ledger stone, which is a stone that covers the entire grave. We have to pay $3,700 a year for maintenance, a lifetime perpetual care. It's a forced charge where it's something that there's no real maintenance really need to be done. We want to have a stone on the grave. It stays there for eternity, and the chances of anything sinking, or at the best case, is almost non-existent. And if it does, it doesn't justify $3,700 be forcing us to pay that kind of money just because we want to have covering on the grave, a ledger stone instead of just a stone, a headstone. Is there any way that we could be allowed to put on a stone, either for much more reasonable price? If you figure out what the cost to them over the lifetime and what of these graves for taking care of these stones that are more than other stones, and course that we're being charged, it's totally unfair. It's just that all cemeteries, these cemeteries that are charging for these ledger stones, the prices are unfair. That's my basic comment. It's outrageously unfair. I tried to talk to them. They said it's not up to them. It's up to the cemetery board to decide this. It's not up to the cemetery. They're not in control of this. So I'm talking to the cemetery board to see if anything could be done to address this.
Thank you. First, can you identify yourself for the record?
It's Raphael Calixtine. I filed a complaint online, and then like about a month ago, and I can give you my phone number and my email and my address.
Yeah, please don't on the public record. Thanks.
Yeah, we staff tell me they have the information they need.
I think, I'm sure we have this complaint. If not, I don't mind giving you my phone number on the public record. I'll put that out there, and you can send me your contact. We have to keep people's personal information from being out there.
Sure.
So first of all, I'll just give you my cell phone number. This is Louis Polishuk, the division director. It's 347-525-7168. But I think I can answer I think I can explain what's going on here. So you have to go back in history to the mid-1980s when the Aguda and other religious organizations were feuding with the Jewish cemeteries over ledger stones and cement beds. The Jewish cemeteries were all trying to prohibit them because they're a pain in the neck to maintain around. Makes it impossible to run a mower. You have to hand trim everything. And the Aguda, which was saying, and other similar organizations, which were saying, our custom is to put some type of non-vegetative covering over the entire burial. The result, this all ended up in the New York State Legislature, where there was a compromise hammered out, which I think my predecessor, like 3 people ago, the State Association of Cemeteries, the legislature, I don't know who else, the Aguda, and the Association of the Jewish Cemeteries all got together and reached a compromise on this. Generally, perpetual care is a voluntary service. You can choose to have perpetual care or not choose to have perpetual care. This is one of the exceptions to the rule. The way the legislation was drafted, it said Jewish cemetery, it doesn't say this in so many words, but this is essentially what it says. Jewish cemeteries, regulated cemeteries catering to Jews, have to allow ledger beds or stones. Now, they don't have to necessarily allow both of those. Some only allow ledger beds. But they have to allow some kind of non-vegetative thing on top of the burial. The cemeteries cannot prohibit that. However, they can adopt a rule that says to do that, you have to pay for perpetual care. Perpetual care is a service that cemeteries apply to, so cemeteries have to get our approval before they come up with both the endowment amount and the way they have to come up with the approval of the endowment amount. New Montefiore, I do not have New Montefiore's file in front of me, but I am going to assume, because it's likely true, we can double check this, that is in fact their approved perpetual care charge. I could stop right there and say, the legislature says they're allowed to do this. We have approved their charge. Once we've approved their charge, not only would we not ask them to give a lower charge for a particular one, we would in fact cite them for a violation if they started doing side deals for people to give lower charges. Now, let me just add to this that there is a reason for this, aside from the fact that this was a legislative compromise. The reasoning behind this is much like the reasoning why cemeteries require endowments for private mausoleums. They don't require maintenance the same way graves do year in and year out. But in 20 years, when that stone cracks or goes askew, there's going to be a hazard in the cemetery, and without an endowment, there's going to be no money from the outside, from the lot owner to fix it. And it is likely at that point that the family, which will be on to 2 generations beyond the burial, will say, hey, we don't want to spend this. Which I think, again, it doesn't really matter why the legislature did this, it's just the law. But if you wanted to know the why, I believe the reason for the why is that over time, especially ledger beds, but also ledger stones, do deteriorate, need to be maintained. The cemeteries retain the income there and use that income to be able to restore that at that point and make sure there's no hazard. I don't know if that, I mean, I'm happy to look at the specifics.
I appreciate the history, Louis, but I think from some public comment, that we thank you for your public comment. The staff will, assuming you have filed a complaint, will respond to the complaint. We can't do business like that at the board meeting, but we are always open to comments from the general public and from the cemeteries about issues for the board. So beyond that, I don't think there's any more we need from you. But
other than texting me your contact to myself.
Do that as an extra, but I'm assuming that staff know, that are aware of this complaint?
Off the top of my head, no. But
we've got the information.
I notified them.
All right, so thank you, and your complaint should be responded to by division staff in a timely manner. So we will do that, and thank you for your comment. And again, you're welcome, thank you. Any other people wishing to address the board? Okay, well, again, happy holidays. Thank you all for your work over this past year, and look forward to starting again anew in 2024, 19 something. Never mind, I'm too old. So we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Oh, next meeting is when?
January 9th.
January 9th. And
I think we'll be back in our regular room.
With a smaller crowd. Anyway, again, happy holidays. Motion to adjourn is seconded. All in favor? Aye. Again, thank you for your time. Motion carries. All right. We get enough